Well, law enforcement agencies everywhere feeling the economic crunch. There's no question about that. Macomb County is not the exception, but they have implemented something rather innovative. They are taking monies from DUIs and turning it around, recycling it, if you will, into monies put back into the force. With more on that, we are happy to have with us Macomb County Sheriff Mark Hackel. Sheriff, good morning and Merry Christmas to you.
Good morning, Steve, and to all of you at WJR.
Well, we are doing well, and this program certainly is doing well. Talking to you off the air, Mark, it just seems like it was the perfect thing to do at the perfect time. An individual, second offense out of a DUI, the vehicle is confiscated. Sometimes they can buy it back. Other times it just goes to auction. That money is turned back into your patrol.
Yeah, we're fortunate. I mean, the legislation getting aggressive and going after drunk drivers, the intent of the public and through their legislators is to say, hey, we got to get tougher. We got to figure out how to get people to, if they're not going to think after they drink, then we got to try to figure out, how to get that message across. So they did. They came up with this law. They gave us an opportunity to seize vehicles for a second offense or greater. Prosecutor here in Macomb County, Eric Smith, very aggressive at making sure that he does get those vehicles seized. And the forfeiture funds that come into his office, distributed amongst law enforcement agencies that participate, gave us a great opportunity to put the message out to the public in our campaign to say, hey, if you see somebody out there drinking and driving, it's okay to call 911 because that is an emergency, and to help us get them people off the street. That was the first part of the campaign, Steve. The second part of it was now we're trying to put the officers out there to respond. And the lack of money that we have in a lot of our budgets, we were able to use the forfeiture funds from these drunk driving seizures, and this is not taxpayer dollars. This is from drunk drivers that are going through a court process. We're using those funds to pay for the actual overtime of the officers trying to find those drunks and respond to those 911 calls that are coming in.
Sheriff, let's talk about you inviting folks on cell phones, if they're behind a drunk driver, to call. The adage for the longest time was most people just don't want to get involved. Are you finding that people are actually dialing you up and saying, look, there's a person in front of me who is all over the place?
Yeah, this actually took place because people started doing it. And again, I want to caution everyone to make sure they understand that if they have a hands-free device, make that call, and or a passenger, even if they have to pull over to the side to give us the last known direction of travel, description as best they can of that vehicle, dispatchers will talk them through the process of what they need. They just need to understand that when they call 911, it's going to go into the dispatch center depending upon where they happen to be as they're traveling through the various jurisdictions. So when they make that call, the dispatcher will talk them through it. And, again, gives us a great opportunity to see if there's an officer in and around the area that'll actually make that stop.
Sheriff, you've been in the law enforcement game for a long, long time, doing a fantastic job, I might add. Here we are in yet another holiday season. We know historically that folks will have a few cocktails and then, unfortunately, get behind the wheel. There's been so much attention to drunk driving. Quite simply, you don't do it. Are you kind of amazed from time to time how many people, realizing the dangers, realizing all the implications, still get behind the wheel loaded?
Well, I don't think anybody actually gets up in the morning or plans on going to that party and saying, you know what, I'm going to get drunk and I'm going to get behind the wheel of the car and get arrested for drunk driving, or worse yet, get into an accident and or kill somebody or injure somebody seriously. I think what happens is it's plain and simple. You drink, you don't think. The problem is as they're drinking, they go through that process of, I can make it home, they won't catch me, I'm okay to drive, and they make some very poor choices. When you drink, you make poor choices, and the results or the consequences can be very tragic and very devastating, to someone who gets arrested and or someone who takes somebody's life. So our job is to, once again, encourage the public and let them know it is okay to call 911 if you see a drunk driver safely so that you're not going to get yourself in harm's way, and allow us an opportunity to figure out how to get to that vehicle before it ends up hurting or killing someone else.
Now, Sheriff, I have to ask you this because, there's a caveat to every story, and I know somebody listening to this conversation right now is saying, well, what happens if somebody calls in a license plate number and it turns out the guy was just on his cell phone or something like that? Is this something that you're concerned about?
Well, it very rarely happens. We are getting a tremendous amount of calls coming into the dispatch center. I mean, as I'm driving around and I drive in a actual unmarked police car, it's amazing the calls that are coming in, even during the daytime, that somebody is calling in and saying, hey, there's somebody driving on the road, and here's though they're intoxicated, this is where I'm at, and this is the direction of travel. And the officers aren't just arbitrarily, when they pull up behind that vehicle, just stopping them based upon that call. they're trying to make the observations themselves so that it's not just a situation where somebody was mad because that person cut in front of them, or there's somebody that did you want to play a joke on, or whatever it might be. So what we're in tune to doing is making sure that we observe the actual driving habits of that individual before making that stop.
Well, Sheriff Hackel, in this conversation, I'm happy to say that state police say 31 state troopers who were laid off in June will be back to work next month, thanks to federal stimulus funds and money from a grant program. And talking to you off the air about this program in Macomb County that has drunk drivers paying for some officers' salaries, that involves the state police as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, all of us are feeling the pinch as far as our funding availabilities, and having the officers to actually sign up and fill those vacancies for the overtime. So what we did is we reached across and said they have jurisdiction even within Macomb County on our highways. And so we offered the opportunity to say, hey, how about a car, at least throughout the remainder of this year, available so that we'll pay out of this forfeiture fund for a state trooper to actually work the overtime. And they graciously agreed to help us out here in Macomb County and fill that void. So we're very lucky we got the partnership in the state to help us deal with this issue. And no question about it, the locals are enhancing their enforcement efforts throughout this holiday season as well.
Well, Sheriff, the gauntlet has been thrown down as we make our way through the holiday season. Of course, Christmas a couple days away, then a week from now, New Year's, and we all know what that means. But you're letting folks know right here, right now, that Macomb County has the wherewithal to make sure you are driving the way you should be, and that is absolutely sober.
Yep, and again, we bring back that old adage, we just hope everyone makes it home for the holidays. And again, if it takes enforcement to help make that happen, that's what we're here for, and we're hoping that we don't have to arrest anybody for drunk driving. But we're most concerned about the fact that there isn't one accident or one life lost during this holiday season as a result of the drunk driver.
All right, Sheriff Hackel, as always, thank you very much for your time. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year to you and yours and all the fine folks out there in Macomb County.
And Merry Christmas to you and all your listeners as well. Thanks again, Steve.
All right, you betcha. That is Sheriff Mark Hackel with us on 760 WJR.